Today's lesson is going to cover the equation of a circle, and we are on pages 5 and 6 of your note packet. So the equation of a circle is x minus h squared added to y minus k squared equals r squared. So the point h and k, this is a point, is the center point, and r is your radius of your circle. So in the formula, just notice that we have a minus sign that's attaching these numbers into our equation of a circle, which means that the sign of it is actually going to flip when it goes in and out. You think of that negative as like a 1 that you are applying to it. So if I just wanted to do these right off the bat, these straightforward ones, I have my center. So if I'm plugging that in, it's x minus my x value, so minus 5, squared added to y minus my y value, so minus 3, squared and added to, or sorry, equals. Radius gets squared, so 2 squared will give me 4. If I wanted to do number 3, I'm looking at x minus my x value, which is negative 2. So this actually becomes plus 2, which is what I was meaning. It's going to be the opposite sign of it. Squared and added to y minus my y value. So that becomes plus 11 squared and equal to, well, they give me my diameter. So my diameter is going to give me my radius by taking half of it. So my radius is 9. And then I square it, and that's going to give me 81. If I'm looking at number 5, x minus my x value, negative 4, that's plus, squared and added to y minus my y value, well, that's just a 0. So I can write it as y minus 0 squared, or you're lots of times just going to see y squared. And that tells you that your y value was a 0. Equals radius squared. Well, my radius is this radical 47. So if I square a radical, what that actually does is that removes that square root casing. So think about how we did that with the Pythagorean theorem. We got rid of the radical when I squared it. So my radius squared is actually just the 47 that was under that radical. All right. If we're given a graph, the 2 points that we need is we need a center and we need a radius, and that allows us to plug into our formula. So if I'm identifying my center point, my origin is sitting right here. So my x is going to be my distance to the right. 1, 2, 3. So minus value is 3. And my y value is my distance down. So my radius goes from center to edge. Now I would travel either horizontal or vertical. Do not travel diagonal because you cannot count the boxes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So plugging into my equation, x minus my x value, squared and added to y minus my y value, squared, so that becomes plus. And then my radius squared, so 5 squared is 9. Let's look at one where we are given the center point and a point on. So again, the 2 things we need is we need a center and we need our radius. So we have to find our radius. Well, if we have a circle and we have the center point and a random point on the circle, and again, your radius is center to edge. So that is your radius. In order to find the length of that radius, we want to run our distance formula. So our radius will be equal to the distance, which if you remember, is x1 minus x2 squared and added to y1 minus y2 squared. So let's find that. Well, x1 is 9 minus x2 is 7 squared and added to y1 is 10 minus y2 is 4 squared. 9 minus 7 is 2 squared plus 10 minus 4 is 6 squared. So that is 4 plus 36, which is the square root of 40. Now, I would honestly leave it like that because above, we figured out that I could just have a radius that's under the radical, and when I square it to find my r squared for the formula, I just remove it. So I would leave it like this. You can find the decimal if you want, but honestly, this is easier to work with. So now I have my center point, and I have my radius. So now I can do my equation of my circle. X minus my x value, make sure you pick from the center, 9, squared and added to y minus my y value, again, make sure you pick from the center, 10, squared and added to, well, r squared removes that casing, so it's just going to be 40. You go ahead and pause the video and complete number 9 on your own and answer that puzzle when it asks you to. All right, we are now on page 6. So on these ones, we're going to be given the circumference and area. Again, we have our center point, which is one of the pieces we need for our formula, but we again need our radius. So to find it, when we're given the circumference and the area, well, we need to remember those formulas. So our circumference is the distance around the circle. It's equal to 2 pi r, so our radius is housed in there. And our area is the area of it, and that's equal to pi r squared. So again, our radius is housed in there. So if they give me my circumference, I can find my radius. So my circumference is 6 pi. That's equal to 2 pi r. So dividing by 2 pi to get r alone. Dividing by 2 pi to get r alone. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Pi divided by pi cancels out. So my radius is 3. So I'm plugging into my equation of my circle. X minus my x value. So minus 1 is positive. Squared and added to y minus my y value. Minus 4 squared. And then equals radius squared. So make sure we split this. And 3 squared is 9. Go ahead and pause the video and try number 13 and answer an end puzzle when you are asked to. All right, let's look at number 14. So again, just to rehash, these are area, and my formulas are gone now, but area is equal to pi r squared. So if we are given the center, and we need the radius, so my area is equal to 16 pi, which is equal to pi r squared. So divide by pi, divide by pi, 16 is equal to r squared. Now technically, I would recommend stopping there because this is what we need for the equation. We need r squared. So we don't need to go back and find the radius just to square it again. But you can also find that radius to be 4 if that is something that you'd like. So, center, x minus my x value, so negative 8 becomes positive, squared and added to y minus my y value, negative 11 becomes positive, squared, equals radius squared. So my radius is already squared, so I'm just going to take that 60. Go ahead and pause the video and try number 15 on your own and answer an ed puzzle when you were asked. All right. Let's look at these ones. So going backwards. So again, like I said, remember in your formula for your equation of the circle, it's x minus h squared and added to y minus k squared and added equals to radius squared. So that 64 is my radius squared. So to get rid of my squared, I would square the root. So this radius is 8. But my center, I need to remember that that is I plugged it in as a minus formula. So if I want to solve that for h, I would actually have to move it over. So this is actually the opposite of what's sitting there. So instead of negative 5, it's a positive 5 that plugs in there to become a minus 5. And instead of a negative 1, it's a positive 1 that plugs in there to become a negative 1. So again, on 17, if I'm looking at that, that 7 is actually a negative 7. that positive 2 or negative 2 is actually a positive 2 because in that formula, since it's a minus sign, it's the opposite of what's there. This is equal to r squared. So square rooting it, my radius is 18, but that's not what they asked for. They asked for my diameter, which is 2 of my radius, which is 2 of 18, so 36. All right, please bring any questions you may have to class tomorrow.